It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that life is so much easier to navigate when you can see what's ahead of you literally. For canines especially, the loss of sight can be devastating. Sure, dogs might have strong senses of smell and hearing to make up for, but for the most part, a blind dog is truly limited in what he can do unless he has a little help. Take Turfel for instance. The blind farm dog never left his tiny box bed for fear of bumping into things and getting hurt. Unlike his human friends with limited sight, he didn't have the ability to carry a cane or some other device. Turfel's mobility was severely limited, that is, until he met an unlikely friend that would change the rest of his life. While there are plenty of tools and gadgets to help people who are visually impaired, there's nothing to assist our furry friends with limited sight. This was especially a problem for a 14-year-old farm dog named Turfel. Turfel's upbringing wasn't a happy one. According to his current owner, Judy Godfrey Brown of Holyhead, North Wales, Turfel's previous owner threw him against a wall as a puppy, which tragically caused him to go partially deaf. It also altered his vision. Life took another unfortunate turn for Turfel when he was 8 years old. Veterinarians spotted cataracts on his eyes, and soon they turned a foggy, milky white. Each day, it became more difficult for him to see anything at all. Eventually, the already partially deaf dog couldn't walk through the house without bumping into the furniture and hurting himself. He learned to stay in his dog bed most of the time. So, he didn't risk any injuries. This was not an ideal life for a farm dog who needed plenty of exercise to stay healthy. He would have likely slept in his basket for the rest of his life if Judy hadn't gotten a brilliant idea. One day, while Turfel was curled up in his basket, Judy took in a stray cat she named Put-it. He was a very mean cat. He's not very nice to the other cats, Judy told Nat Geo. He will bully the other cats a bit into submission. But, while Put-it may have been a bully to Judy's other cats, he did make one friend at her new residence, Turfel. As unlikely as it seemed, the blind, deaf dog had warmed Put-it's cold demeanor. Put-it prefers Turfel to any of the other cats, Judy said. I think he must have known Turfel was blind because he sorts of bonded with him straight away. Judy added, I've never seen anything like it, most cats and dogs hate each other. Judy couldn't say enough about Put-it's intuition, a sixth sense, as she called it. I think Put-it must have realized that Turfel was a bit vulnerable, she said. He just seemed to know that there was a need there somehow. Still, this friendship went far beyond just a few late evening snuggles in the shared bed where Turfel and Put-it slept side by side. Put-it took on another role entirely in Turfel's life. Put-it offered Turfel more than friendship, he dedicated his services as a seeing-eye cat. Perhaps, he took after Judy, who'd once been a public servant. Either way, the cat wanted to help, and so he became Turfel's crutch and guide. According to Judy, Turfel relied on Put-it to help him get around and avoid bumping into things. Somehow, through an inexplicable bond, Turfel became more confident with his feline helper around. Make no mistake, this wasn't a case of Turfel making friends with every creature that rubbed up against him. Judy owned 5 other cats before Put-it, and he didn't show them the same affections. Put-it and Turfel's relationship was truly unique. So, how does the duo get around? He uses his paws to guide him, Judy explained. They are glued to each other. Indeed, Put-it would often lead the blind pooch from his spot on the couch to other parts of the house. He'd even paw open a door or two for him. Still, Put-it didn't limit himself to helping Turfel avoid bumping into couches, corners, or chairs. The cat also helped Turfel get back to his farm dog roots by guiding his canine friend outdoors too. It's often when they're out, they're nose to tail with Put-it in the lead and Turfel following him, Judy said. It's lovely to see, especially when you're used to dogs chasing cats. Thanks to Put-it's guidance, Judy didn't have to take Turfel on walks anymore, a relief in her old age. The cat could open the door and take his buddy outside for some fresh air, all by himself. I don't think I've ever seen a dog-cat duo that have got on quite so well as these two, and they relied upon each other in that same way, Judy said. It's tough to think what these fellas' lives might have been like without one another. Without Puttitit in his life, Turfel would have undoubtedly wasted away indoors. And Puttitit would have likely lived a life of solitude, with no interest in his feline companions. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. What a great pair of friends. It's amazing that these two could put aside their interspecies rivalry and depend on each other for affection, guidance, and confidence.